So often, parents are noticing changes in their child and they're trying to determine, well, is this just a normal part of growing up or is this something else? They're seeing changes in their appearance, their behavior, and their conduct. And they're thinking, could this be drug related? So, what happens often? Well, our kid goes off to high school, and what do? We go to Snoop. We're searching their bedroom for drugs. And a lot of times, what happens is the parent's so focused on the drug paraphernalia is sitting right in front of them. They move it to the side, keep looking for the drug when they just missed the answer, and that is in the drug paraphernalia. That's what we're going to talk about today. What I call the 3 C's of drug use. What are the 3 C's of drug use? These are items used to carry, conceal, and consume a drug. So we're going to talk about these individually. Carry. These are items we generally will buy the drug in or carry the drug in. Give you an example. Buy whatever drug it is, and it's in a little Ziploc baggie, or maybe it's a corner baggie that's cut and it's all tied up at the corner. Or maybe it's a plastic or a little tiny glass vial. Or maybe it's a pill bottle with the prescription peeled off and there's multiple pills in there. Maybe it's a mint container and I've taken a couple pills and put them in with all of the other mints to hide it that way. Small silicone containers. Now, we're going to have an episode coming up about marijuana concentrates, and some of those marijuana concentrates like dabs and some of those, they're very sticky. So it's very difficult to keep them in containers unless it's a non-stick container. So oftentimes when you see little silicone containers, that's storing those cannabis concentrates like a dab. So I'll give you an example of one of those. Imagine this little rubber bouncing ball that's found in your kid's bedroom in your kid's car. We're not going to think much of this little ball, are we? Well, what you do with this ball, it's silicone. So you're just going to pop it apart, and that's where we're going to hide the drugs. We can stick the drug in there. It's not going to stick to it. When we're ready to use it, put it back together. Now, mom and dad sees it. It's just a little toy. Those are things that we oftentimes can miss. Digital scales. Disguised digital scales. If I'm weighing up food, why in the world would I need a disguised digital scale? I'm going to just give you an example of many that are out there. This cheap little cell phone, or so it appears. Plastic cover. You simply pop that off, you turn it on, and it's a digital scale to weigh up all the drugs. These are things that we find all the time that parents miss sometimes as well. So the next is conceal. How we're going to hide it in our bedroom or in our car. Diversion safes that you can buy in a lot of different places. We'll talk about some of the places you can buy. Some of the common ones are like these stash cans like this. Just kind of give you an example. Some of our supermarkets, you can get these Ritz Bits or mini Oreos 10 for $10. Notice what I paid for that. If you could read it, $22.95. Nobody in their right mind is going to pay $22.95 for Ritz Bits. So that's a clue. So I'm going to peel that sticker off so nobody knows. You keep a steady supply of the crackers or the cookies in the top, but the bottom is false. We're going to unscrew the bottom. You see that void there? That's where we're going to put the drug. Now, some parents will ask, well, wait a minute, my kid can't afford to pay $22 for something like that. Well, maybe not. Could your kid make one? Could your kid buy one online? Sure. So how are you going to learn how to make one of these? Watching online videos. That's how we're going to learn how to make these. So it could be homemade. It could be one we buy in a store. So those are just some of the different safes that are out there. Odor-proof bags. Now, depending on what drug it is, because some drugs don't have an odor, but if it's marijuana or a drug that has a distinct odor, you might see these odor-proof bags out there. Other things like eye drops. When we're smoking marijuana or we're drinking alcohol, it can cause red eye, bloodshot eyes, glassy eyes, those type of things. So a lot of times what kids will do is they'll use Roto drops or they'll use Visine or Bausch & Lomb eye drops to clear the eye. So those are some of the things you could see. And you could see mints not only to hide the drug, but mints to cover up the odor in our mouths. I've always told parents, look, one of the big things is if you smell an odor that doesn't make sense, those are the big things to pick up on there. So they could be burning incense in their car, in their bedroom, using body sprays or perfume or cologne to cover up what odor they don't want mom and dad to know about. Got to think about these hidden apps too. Imagine mom calls me downstairs and says, "Hey, Shawn, I want to take a look at your phone." All right, mom, here's my phone. She starts scrolling through my apps, and then all of a sudden she sees a calculator app. And she keeps scrolling. She sees another one. "Shawn, why do you have three calculator apps?" And then mom tries to click on one of my calculator apps and it's password protected. "Shawn, why are you password protecting your calculator?" Why? Because it's not a real calculator. It's maybe a photo vault, or maybe it's some sort of text messaging vault or text messaging app that is disguised so mom and dad don't know. So those are just some of the things to think about there. And then the last of the C's is consume. How are we going to use the drug, consume the drug? And there are several of them out there. I'm just going to give you an example. We're going to go over more of these as we go through this video, but just go give you a little one here. This lipstick container, or so it appears. I paid $20 for this lipstick container in one of the stores. You take one end off, it still might look like lipstick till you turn it over. You see the little hole? Anytime you got a hole in the end of an item where it shouldn't be, first thing you want to think of is pipe. And that's exactly what this is. This little hole is the mouthpiece. So when I'm ready to smoke, I take off the other end. You see the little bowl? That's where I'm going to pack it full of marijuana. I have to put a screen in here, and I'll talk about screens for these pipes in just a few minutes, but you're going to put a screen in there. Then you're going to pack it full of weed. You're going to light smoke. When I'm done, let it cool down, a couple sprays of perfume, put the caps back on, put this back in my purse. Now, hopefully no one's going to find it and no one's going to be able to smell the marijuana. So little types of disguised pipes like this, one hitters. You might find blunt wraps for blunt cigars. You might find some of the cannabis concentrate rigs like vape pens or dab rigs, those type of things. Those are things we're looking for. And then some of the ones you would think of, you see in the movies, like the burnt foil, the bent spoons, things you might use to inject a drug, like insulin 100 syringes, those type of things. The little tourniquets, which could be an elastic band, shoelace, or belt to tie off to inject that drug into my body. So those are the acts of using the drug or consuming the drug. All right, so now we've got the 3 C's down. Where do you find drug paraphernalia? Well, you can get them in the major head shops. There are some major head shops around our country. Now, these are businesses that sell generally, the majority is drug paraphernalia. So you can see some of the pictures here. A lot of it is marijuana stuff. Probably 75% of the stuff in these type of head shops, paraphernalia shops in our communities are marijuana involved stuff. But there's other types of drug paraphernalia you can buy here as well. Now, I tell you, I go into these head shops all the time. Why do I go into these head shops? Because, guys, I like to talk to the clerks that are working. Here's an example of one of the head shops I went into talking to the clerk. Why do I go into these head shops and talk to these clerks? Well, number one, a lot of them love to talk. They love to tell you how smart they are, and they love to tell you how they get over on the cops all the time. So what do? I take their information and I share it with everybody. Knowledge is power. So I'll watch them show me their gizmos and gadgets, but rarely do I buy anything in a head shop. Why? It's too expensive. So where do I buy most of my stuff? I buy most of my stuff online. It could be Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Wayfair, and these companies sell primarily legal items, but there are some items that can be used as drug paraphernalia. But you got to understand this too. Some of these items like this, if I buy this on Amazon, there's a legitimate reason to have this. Maybe I want to hide my valuables in here, or I want to hide my jewelry in here, or my bank cards when I'm on vacation or whatever. So there are legitimate reasons to sell these things, but there also are nefarious or illegal reasons to buy these as well. But you can get them on these online areas as well. Now, if you want to know what's local in your communities, what types of businesses also sell some of this stuff, I'm going to show you some more examples of. You guys know, gas stations, corner markets, smoke shops, tobacco shops, vape shops. That's who sells a lot of these items as well. All right, so let's show you some more drug paraphernalia to get your mind into thinking about concealment. Let's talk about alcohol. You know, a lot of people don't even consider alcohol a drug anymore. Heck, a lot of people don't even think marijuana is a drug anymore. But let's just talk about a few things of the many out there that we can conceal alcohol. Let's look at this one you can buy. You can buy this online or in a head shop. Sunscreen, suntan lotion container. So it appears. Bought this for about 20 bucks. All you do is unscrew the cap and you see how it's hollow. This is just an alcohol flask. This one actually came with a funnel and it came with a mouthpiece. You can funnel your alcohol in there, put the mouthpiece in and drink it that way. Imagine you have a high school daughter. Let's say you have a junior or senior in high school. Daughter comes to you, Mom, Dad, I'm going to the football game, Friday night football game, and I'm going to take my pom-pom with me to cheer for the football team. She gets in the stands with her friends. What can she do? Well, she can turn it over, and she has her pom-pom flask. Got to check everything, don't we, Mom and Dad? And guys, there are hundreds of these out there. And in future videos, I'm going to get out some more of the drug paraphernalia I have and keep us always updated on some of the latest and greatest when it comes to drug paraphernalia. So those are coupled with alcohol. Let's talk about a few other stash containers. How to hide drugs. Well, let's talk about this one. The icebreaker gums, or so it appears. This one it was about $12 for this one. You keep a steady supply of the gum in the top. You can hear it's got gum in there, but this one also has a false bottom to hide the drug. Let's think about these liquid wrench containers. I'm going to tell you a quick story that happened to me in one of the head shops I went into. I went in this head shop, and I told the guy working there, I was like, hey, I'm having a hard time getting my stash to work with me. You got any suggestions? So he said, yeah, I got a perfect one for you. And he brought over this liquid wrench container. He told me flat out, he said, hey, it's got a false bottom. So you unscrew the bottom. It's got a deep compartment there. He said, you put your valuables in there. Now, notice what words he's using. He's using these words in case I'm a cop. Because if he would have said, hey, put your fentanyl in here and take it to work, that makes this potentially drug paraphernalia in many of our states. So he'll use words like, put your valuables in here, your stash in here. They're not going to mention illegal drugs. So he said, put your valuables in here, screw the bottom back on, and he said, immediately dent the can up, make it look old. See how I've dented that can up? He said, spray real oil and grease on the outside of it, because this isn't going to work. It's empty. So spray real oil and grease on it. He kind of gave me a wink, and he said, hey, I saw you pull your pickup truck on the parking lot. And I'm like, yeah, I drive pickup. He said, here's what you do. He said, throw some trash in the bed of your pickup truck. What did he tell me to do with this? Throw this in the bed of the pickup truck with similar trash. Now, way if law enforcement or a cop stops you, or maybe a boss at work takes a look in the bed of your pickup truck, sees this container, it's all dented up with oil in it, they're not going to think anything of it. Now, guys, I'll tell you, I could sit and try and think of a story like that, excuse me, for hours and never think of a story, and he had it just like that. Very valuable information we can obtain in some of these head shops. Heck, imagine we're school teachers. We get to school this morning, get an anonymous tip that one of our female students brought drugs to school. Let's say at that point, our policy dictates we got to do a locker search. Get to this particular female student's locker, and she got this hairbrush sitting on the shelf in the locker with hair on it. Most of us wouldn't think twice of this. We will now, because when you unscrew the end cap, that's where she's going to hide the drug. This could be stickered as much as $39 in a head shop, or online, you might be able to get it for much cheaper than that. So the prices really do vary depending on where you buy some of this stuff. All right. So let's talk about the screens. I'd mentioned the screens earlier. I'm going to just kind of show you another pipe here. Imagine this highlighter. Don't we see highlighters all over the place? Now, when I first bought this highlighter, it would work as a highlighter. It's kind of dried out over the years. What you do with this highlighter is pull the metal pipe out of the bottom. You see how it's got the bowl there? That's where you're going to put the marijuana. Now, you can't just put the marijuana in there and smoke it. You have to have a screen. So typical screens that we will see for marijuana pipes like this that kids will use is a water faucet screen. Now, it's kind of funny doing these presentations for live audiences, and I'm like looking around the audience after I say water faucet screens, and it's almost like that one parent, that little light bulb pops off on the top of their head, and they're thinking, water faucet screens? Now I know why all the water faucet screens are missing from my kid's bathroom faucet upstairs. Yes, you can take them from there, but where else can you buy water faucet screens? Well, you can buy them at Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware. You can buy them in some of our head shops where you buy the other drug paraphernalia. So you pick the size of the water faucet screen that fits that little bowl. You put that in there, then pack it full of weed and light and smoke. Now, parents will watch my program Go home tonight and do what? Search their kid's bedroom, search their kid's car. A lot of times, they're not real sure what they're finding there. They're finding stuff in their kid's bedroom and not confident of what it is. So they'll call me, they'll text me, hey, I saw you last night, saw you a week ago, found some stuff in my kid's bedroom. Can I send you a couple pictures and maybe you can help me? So this picture here on the right is from a mother who attended one of my live programs and found these 4 little items in her kid's bedroom. Guys, what are those 4 little items she was finding there? Those are burnt water faucet screens. Immediately as she sent that to me, I'm like, look, Mom, those are burnt water faucet screens. Your kid's smoking weed. Now think if Mom would have went in there and said, oh, that's probably nothing. I'm not going to challenge my son or daughter with what that is. Now what happens 6 months, a year later, when his or her stage 1 marijuana use is now what? Stage 3 or 4 pills, heroin, or fentanyl. Guys, I don't care what disease we're talking about, whether it's the disease of cancer or the disease of addiction, early intervention's the key. We find out one of our loved ones has cancer, we're praying to God at stage 1. Would you agree? We find out one of our kids has drug issues, we're again praying at stage 1. We don't want to wait for it to be stage 3 or 4 pills, heroin, or fentanyl when it could be very difficult to keep that youngster sober for the rest of their life. So really important things there we can't overlook. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about this highlighter here. I was doing this presentation for a large group of foster parents. There must have been 100 foster parents in this room. So I just got done showing all the foster parents this highlighter when I had a foster mother towards the back row. She raised her hand. I'm like, yes, ma'am, you have a question? She said, no, not really a question, just something I want to say. And I'm like, yeah, what do you got? She said, you know that highlighter you just showed all of us? I'm like, yeah. She said, well, I got one of those in my purse. And I was like, why do you have one in your purse? She said, well, I knew the topic today was about drugs. I didn't think you knew about this stuff, so I wanted to educate you. And I'll never claim to know everything about drugs, but I asked her, okay, why do you have it in your purse? So this is the story she told us all. She said, you know, it's about 6 months or so ago. I'm laying in bed one night, just ready to fall asleep, watching the news. It's about 10 o'clock at night. So down the hall, I heard the shower turn on. So she said, I'm thinking that's my 15-year-old foster son. He's taking a shower tonight, so he didn't have to get up extra early in the morning. So the mere fact that the shower turned on at 10 o'clock didn't raise her suspicion at all. But about 5 or 10 minutes after the shower turned on, she started to smell marijuana. Now that did pique her interest. So she said she got out of bed, walked down the hallway, started pounding on the bathroom door. Eventually, she got the young man to open up the door and the steam from the hot shower came out. She looked up and the exhaust fan was turned on. What's a kid trying to do? Mask and cover the odor of the marijuana. Didn't work this time. So she asked him point blank, where's the marijuana? The look on his face and his reaction said it all. He was busted. He said, Mom, I was talking about I have marijuana. Now, how many of you as parents have ever said or heard a parent say, I can tell when my kid's lying? Why do we say that? Because we can. You go maybe home tonight from work and say you got a 17-year-old son. 17-year-old son's playing video games. You say, son, you get your homework done? Oh, Dad, oh, Mom, got my homework done hours ago. What do we say as parents? Son, you go upstairs and get your homework done. You're lying to me. Just by their reaction, we know they're lying. Guys, if I'm going to lie to you, where does a lie always come from? Remember, the lie always comes from the mouth. Listen to what your kids say. Trust but verify. So if the lie always comes from the mouth, what tells the truth? They're ABCs. That video we showed you prior to this one was appearance, behavior, and conduct indicators. If you haven't watched that video yet, check out the ABCs of drug recognition. It'll tie all this in together, guys. So when moments like this happen in your life, like this young mother, this young foster mother, slow down. I know life gets busy. We're torn in a million different directions at work. Then we get home, we're torn in a million different directions at home. When these moments happen, slow down. Expand the picture. And that's what she did. She knew he was lying. So she walks right by him, goes in the bathroom, starts looking around. You know what she finds on the back of the toilet tank? A highlighter. That's the one she had in her purse. So she's thinking, first thought, her mind should be the first thought in all of our minds. How many of you guys take a highlighter and shower with you? If you find an item and it don't make sense where you find it, take a closer look. So she sees the highlighter. Why is a highlighter on the back of the toilet tank when he's taking a shower? She picks up the highlighter, pulls out the bottom, and as you can see there, she found a marijuana pipe. And you see how that's burnt there? He's been using that over and over again for a while, no doubt about it. So those are just a couple items. Let's move on to a couple more. Bolts like these. I'm going to give you some examples in my hands, what I have. You see this bolt? I bought this bolt in a head shop, and it's got a nut and washer on it. And you pick this up, it's heavy. It could do what it appears to be made to do. So what you do is kind of hold it like so, then you unscrew the cap. You turn it over. See how it's all hollow there? I could put a couple dabs of marijuana, a couple mollies, a couple perks, put the cap back on. Maybe I drive a pickup truck and I got a toolbox in the bed of the pickup truck. What am I going to do with this? Throw this in the toolbox with similar items. Wouldn't this be a difficult find for law enforcement, let alone mom and dad? When I see these type of items, it makes me wonder how much dope did I miss in my career because of these type of items. Now, when I bought this bolt in this head shop, this bolt was sitting right next to it. So I'm thinking, well, this one's got to open up the same way, right in the top. So I'm messing with it. Embarrassingly enough, I couldn't figure it out. So I'd go to the clerk working in the store, and I'm like, hey, dude, I figured out that other bolt, but how's this one open up? He said, oh, with this one, you can crank on it all day long. You're not going to get it open. Reason being, it's got a reverse thread. So this one, you got to open up the opposite way, then that will reveal your hidden compartment. Pretty ingenious how they make some of this stuff. Law enforcement, as you can see in these pictures, law enforcement finding these all the time. Cop stops a guy for a traffic violation. For whatever reason, he ends up searching the car. And what did he find in the back seat of the car? He finds this bolt laying in the back seat. And then what happens when he unscrews the bolt? Figured out it has a false center there, and crystal methamphetamine found in that bolt. So this stuff is happening all the time, guys. I want to explain one we did before I retired. This was a search warrant we did in one of our local motels. And the first thing that happened when we went in this motel room, we found this container of Morton salt, but it was sitting upright. Now, your first thought should be the same as our first thought. How many of you go into a hotel or a motel on vacation and take a big container of salt like that? It didn't make sense. It was out of place. So what we had him do was turn it upside down, and you see the bottom of that container. Look at the bottom of that container. Now, if that was normal Morton salt, it probably wouldn't look like. You can tell that that's been used over and over again. You see how the bottom of it's got stains on it, and you see how it's not even sealed. That's not normal. You see containers like that, guys, those could be really important indicators. And if you look, when we unscrew the bottom, 5 ounces of crystal methamphetamine found inside that container. So guys, these containers have been used a long time, and every year they continue to get better and better. So with these containers, there's so many of them out there. There's no way I could spend time talking about all these. But look what you can find in our house, guys. The Jif peanut butter, sugar containers with false centers, the Athlete's foot spray, furniture polish at the bottom with false bottoms. All of these type of things. So they're legitimate looking containers. Could be copyright violations, but if the company doesn't want to file any type of copyright violations, there's nothing law enforcement can do, and oftentimes that's the case. But they're using these brands that look like regular household items for stash containers. So these are things we really, really need to take a look at. Now, again, these could be used for legitimate reasons, but I can tell you in my career, in my experience, probably 99% of the time when I found these, it's got drugs or drug paraphernalia in them. All right, so that is a little bit of the world of concealment. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. And again, we'll keep updating this as we go through because this is ever changing, guys. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, stay street smart.